Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of Beyond the Tape podcast, a podcast that focuses on the Australian mountain bike industry and people doing rad things. In this episode, we are talking with the Zwar brothers, some really fast, underrated riders from Australia. But before we get on to that, let's talk about some supporters of the podcast. We have Canyon Bicycles on board for this one. Those guys are based in Melbourne for the Australian distro and servicing and everything else. So if you've got any issues, you can hit them up. I had to source a hanger for a customer the other day for his Canyon, and being a bike shop, they managed to send one over to us, do us a little bit of a deal on the pricing so that all parties could make a little bit of money. Super fast service, super easy. So big shout out to those guys. They help you local, even though they're an online kind of bicycle company. We've got NS Dynamics, which is Australia's premium servicing centre. They do everything from RockShox, Fox, DVO. They'll do Boss. They'll do whatever to get your bike running 100%. If your fork is way gone beyond servicing, they also sell DVO. They sell upgrade kits from Forsprung, and they do Olands as well. So they do some really, really cool product. We've got 2Up Bike Co. on this one. They do Noble wheels, they do Factor hubs and stems and pedals. They also do some Demonte lubes and Schmarty saddles. Been loving their Demonte stuff. I've been using their greases and their lubes for a little while now. That free hub lube oil is the best. That grease or oil they do is sick. If you want something sick to work in, jump over to hucktheworld.com.au, their Shopify site, and get yourself a tech tee. I live and breathe in that thing. I've had one for a couple of years now, and it is still as comfortable as new. Don't forget to jump over to their site and use Beyond the Tape 10 as a discount code and get 10% off it. We've also got Dirt Surfer on for this year as well. So they do custom mud guards. They are made of 100% recycled material. They're amazing products. I've just got some on order for the Nick Hills, aka Hills Hoist collab that we did. So jump over to my site, www.beyondthetape.com, and order one of them for you now. I believe that's all the sponsors for this year. It's pretty hard, but thanks everyone for the support, and hopefully we're doing well. And thanks everyone, all listeners. Without you guys, it wouldn't be worth it. Now, our guests for this one are the Zwar brothers, Ben and Oliver. They talk about their kind of racing progress, how they kind of were in and out of racing for a little bit, but over the last 2 years, they've really made their mark on the scene, especially at the World Cups. These two are fast. We talk about privateer life. We talk about the support, lack of support at their world champs from Australia, and how they've kind of moved to Sweden and the support they're getting there. It is epic, but it's no hit out to Mountain Bike of Australia for what they're doing. They do some cool shit, but we just wanted to kind of give you a bit of background to what it's like to be at world champs as a privateer. Anyway, grab beer, grab water, grab a wine, grab whatever makes you happy, have a listen, and enjoy the podcast. Oliver and Ben Zwar, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Should be fun.
Did I pronounce your name right, or have I messed it up already?
Depends on what part of the world you're in.
Yeah, right.
People back home say Zwar. Dad says War. People here say like Svar because there's no W in the Swedish language. And then, honestly, it depends. I've heard some real funny stuff too. So yeah, that was a good attempt.
Yeah,
War's the where you go by.
Yeah, Zwar. Yeah. I didn't know whether you guys had the Germanic W or not, so I didn't want to pronounce that. But yeah, you obviously do.
Yeah.
So how's things in because you're in Sweden, Switzerland, Sweden.
We're in Sweden. Yeah. No, it's a bit different this time of year. Like we're usually pretty used to coming home from say like the World Cups, and then you're coming into summer. So like, oh, sweet, bit of sun, swimming. And then now it's obviously going into winter here, and just went winter. So it's a lot colder to what we're used to.
What's it get down to there? Is it pretty crazy?
It's been very warm for this year. Like I think the lowest is maybe like -5, but it's kind of on average been between 0 and 4, 5. But it can get down to, this time of year -10, and then in January like -20.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
On a cold year.
Yeah. Not too bad. I mean, like once it's cold, right?
Exactly. At least you can put layers on, whereas back home when it's 40 degrees, if you're in your birthday suit, you can't get any cooler.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're feeling right now. It's terrible.
Yeah, doesn't look that fun.
All right. So do you guys want to like explain to people who don't know who you are?
Yeah.
For some reason, you guys are probably at the top of the Australian downhill scene for a while now, and you're not as exposed as some people, like as I'd expect.
Yeah. It's kind of flown under the radar a little bit. So basically, I'm Ollie, Benny. We've been racing downhill. We've been racing World Cups on and off for probably 3 or 4 years. Originally I'm from Australia, raced for Australia our whole career, and then it just made sense to live in Europe because 90% of the races are in Europe, and it's kind of hard going back and forth when you're a privateer from Australia, or if you are in Europe for a 3-month period, you're just in a hotel room going from hire car to hire car to another hotel room, and it's bit difficult on that end. So we were just kind of like, well, let's just try. Originally, we just wanted to live in Europe.
You look at all the motocross GP riders, like all the Aussies and everything, and then when they go to do the races, they fully move there. We were just sort of like, well, why don't we try that?
Yeah. Makes sense. How long's a flight? Because you guys are in Melbourne, right? So it's like a 24-hour plus flight to get to Europe every time.
Yeah, we're 3 hours. We're near Bright.
Sick.
A small town called Yakandanda. So by the time you get to Melbourne, it's a 3.5-hour drive, and then you're on a plane for 14, and then another 10-hour flight after that. And then generally you land, you have 1 day rest, and then it's straight into track walk.
Okay. Yep.
So you can literally be on like complete opposite time zones and having to do first practice. And then, so
you can get pretty sick. Like last year we got gastro on the way to Fort William, which was just
the worst thing ever.
Oh, yeah, that was insane. Like, and then straight after that race was into another World Cup. And so as soon as you get like a little bit sick or a little bit injured or something, it's like a snowball effect. So pretty much 2 races were almost a write-off just because of getting sick on the way over
from an airplane,
which is a bit of a shame, but it's a hard one.
Yeah, I mean, I struggled to go for a ride this morning at 9 o'clock, and it was 5 minutes from my house. So after all that jet lag and stuff, it must be crazy. But like, you wouldn't get time to heal from any of that stuff, right? Because being a privateer, you pretty much land and you go from then, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've done it so many different ways. Like, I was lucky last year that Mum and Dad came to most of them, so they helped out huge. But in the past, I've done it where it's just been me and Keegan Wright in a van that we bought. So then you're driving the whole time, and then we've done it with like Sean's dad and Sean, and no matter like any way you kind of do it as a privateer, it's a lot of work. And yeah, as soon as you get there, it's like, oh shit, bikes. Yep, got the bikes, get the hire car, build the bikes, make sure everything's there. Then you got to work out like when at a World Cup too, registration or like plate pickup is like 3 or 4 hours before you can do track walk. So if you go to Fort William and it's 5 degrees and it's raining sideways, you get there at 10 o'clock in the morning, you get your plate, and then you got to hang around there out of the cold somehow for 4 or 5 hours until you can do your track walk. There's just all these little things like that do add up over a course of like a world-class event. Kind of, you feel a bit behind with all that stuff.
So, well, I guess the media just shows the fun stuff, right? Like you just log on to Vital and watch the track walk video.
Exactly. The media show the big semi-trailers, all the dudes, mechanics and masseuses and chefs and all that. And you see all the Vanzacks and all the boys in the vans. So it's tough. It's tough being in private too, but it's the sickest thing ever. The coolest experience I've ever had in my life is doing this sort of stuff, so I wouldn't have it any other way.
All the privateers seem to say that. You guys like just pack together and kind of get through it together, or how's that kind of work for you guys? Is there like a pit set up for you that's separate from everyone?
Last year, the Cycling Australia had, I think every federation has a pit spot in the pits.
Okay.
So it might be like a 3x3 marked off pit spot. So we generally, because we had a van in Europe, we would park the van there, and if there was any other Aussies that wanted to hang out there, they could. And we had more spare parts than they did because they were flying in and out all the time. But yeah, because it was Coots was over and Jake Byrne and that. So yeah, you kind of stick together, and I guess all the Aussies kind of like speaking English, so they'll hang out and chat. So.
Yeah, we're not the most multilingual country in the world, are we?
Like having a chat with an Aussie.
Yeah.
Sick. But if we wind it back a little bit, how did you guys kind of get started? From a little country town in rural Victoria.
Well, I grew up racing motocross from like a very young age because Dad used to race. So it was me, Dad racing from, I think when I was like 4.5 until I was about 12. And then I wasn't really doing much. I was just doing the normal stuff like footy, cricket, stuff like that. And didn't really play any sports for a bit. And Dad's like, well, you got to do something. And I was at one of his good mates, and he was into cross country, but he had a downhill movie on the TV, and I was like, whoa, I want to do that. So then, I think for the next Christmas or birthday, I ended up getting a Specialized big hit, and then like turned up to the first Vic round, and under 17s, and I was hooked. And then Benny kind of follows me doing everything.
Pretty much with everything, I've just. Yeah, like little brother just follows whatever the older brother does. So, growing up, he was riding motocross and Dad riding motocross as well. I sort of copied that, but I never actually raced. But literally, since we were little, we've always had, jumps and stuff in the backyards, always on riding bikes. And then, as soon as we found out what mountain biking was and downhill, we were pretty hooked on it. But I tried it out for a few years, under 13s, and then I enjoyed it, but I was just so small. Everything was so hard. The bikes are so heavy, and wasn't really enjoying it that much. So I took a few years off and just did what everyone else does, just played some footy and just rode motorbikes and stuff like that. And then I think it was until under 17s. I came back and just did another Vic round, and I was like, oh, pretty fun now. I can actually do a bunny hop and point the bike where I want to go. So, yeah. Because
the Vic tracks are pretty gnarly, right? You got Yuyangs, you got Bright, you've got Awaba as well.
Yeah, some good. It's a really good series. It's probably one of the best ones in Australia.
Especially back when we started, it was in its sort of heyday. You'd almost get 250 people there. And it was bigger than the national. That was sick. You'd have Conor Fearon coming over. You'd have all sorts of people. It was really cool. And as a kid in under 17s, I remember there'd be Reece Atkinson, and they'd have all the printed Specialized jerseys, and you'd literally just be in awe. You're just oh, holy crap! It was such a cool atmosphere, especially coming from moto our whole life. You turned up to a Mount Beauty, it was our first race, and it was just everyone's like, oh, hey, how you going? It's cool that you're here. If you need any help. Whereas moto, it's just you're basically you're in the under 12s class, and you've got this kid over here next to you, and his dad's telling him to take you out. Or like,
Yep.
it's like, I don't know. I've always said it to so many people that it's just such a healthy sport because you're not necessarily racing 40 other kids. You're racing your own self. So your biggest competitor can be your best mate, and it can be a really good friendship like that. So,
do you think like that competitive like class and that competitive series like kept feeding you a hunger to go and race there and race more mountain bikes?
yeah, I think it was just you're just having fun. Like you just go with your mates. You're riding these sick tracks. And it was just super fun. Like I remember it was just a really cool atmosphere. You'd have all the New South Wales boys come down, like the Crimmins. You had Dave McMillan. You had Booger. Everyone was just Joey Vavoda. Everyone. It was just a really cool like atmosphere for us as younger kids. Like you're doing your racing in between. At the top, I remember sitting at the top of each race run. You're just joking with everyone, having fun. Like it was really, really cool.
Yeah, it is a sick scene. It's interesting, like that Victorian scene's pretty much the national series now. So
yeah, you can see they're doing something right. That's for sure.
And at what point did you kind of start taking it seriously and looking to go overseas?
Well, Benny more so because as a junior, I wasn't fast. Like I didn't make any of the junior teams or anything.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
I was out the back. And then at my first few years in elite, I was just doing it for fun. Like I was working full time doing an apprenticeship, and it was when Benny's first year
juniors
got,
selected for Worlds, and I guess that was sort of had some pretty good results. In the national series and stuff, and I had a pretty good year or hard year as well. Like Baxter Mail, Josh Clark, and Harry Parsons. Yeah, okay. And that was just like so tapped. It's like ridiculously fast. So that was I was sort of always around like in Australia like third, like or like to fourth or fifth or something like that, but pretty consistent. And then I got selected for Worlds for my first year juniors, and we went to that was in Valdesol, and then we got to race Andorra the week before.
Sick.
It was pretty crazy, but. Yeah, we went to Andorra, and that was like my favourite track.
Right.
Yeah, and that's been so good, and I think I was the only one that qualified out of all the Aussies as well. So that was pretty sick. And and then Valdesol, and that was a big shock to the system, like pretty gnarly. Sort of showed like puts you back in your place and shows you like how like serious and like how much you need to know to ride those tracks just with suspension wires and just everything. So that was a good shock. Yeah,
that's like one. I can't remember. I think it might have even been Baxter or Jai as well, but one of them. And they mentioned like just going to Valdesol as their first race. Like it's the worst. Yeah, just getting thrown in hot water.
Yeah,
massively.
I like did half a run and like it was just my arms. So I couldn't even hold on anymore. I'm like I got like another 4 days to get through. Like,
was it daunting for you at the time, or did you just like enjoy it?
Yeah, it was good. I guess having like all your like racing with all your good mates, being there with them, and getting a warm up to like we rode Andorra the week before, and that's just as gnarly of a track, like super long, rough. So that was a
little bit faster, right? So
yeah. And so that was, I guess, a good warm up because you knew it was a gnarly track. But Valdesol that year they did a lot of changes and made a lot of new stuff up the top, and it was just like super like really tight and just awkward.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
just like so rough. And I remember just struggling a lot, like on the bike. Like I'm like I needed, just not knowing. First year, just like puzzling. Like it was pretty gnarly, but it was sick.
Good and what was it like to watch your little bro get selected for the World Champs team?
It was really cool because like you said before, you think it was a year or two before that he wasn't even racing. Like he kind of was. So it was just like all of a sudden he came back for his first race, or first few races, and there was national champs, and he got second in under 17s, and we're all just like, shit. Not bad. So then it was just like super. Yeah, obviously everything he does is just super proud. And like I remember I was at my friend's place watching live timing, all night, just watching, and it's kind of been a running thing. Like even now, like I'm more nervous watching him come down than me. Like
yeah, right.
I don't know, it's just cool. It's really cool to see like this short little fat kid that, not fat, chubby kid that couldn't even like pretty much touch the ground on his big hit, and all of a sudden he's representing his country and doing well. So it's pretty sick.
That's sick in such a short time as well.
Exactly.
Did that like light a fire under your ass to try and pick it up a little bit as well?
It might have, because like, I was doing a carpentry apprenticeship, and there was one mate of mine was still in the racing. He's like, oh, there's a shop that's kind of doing a team, and you could probably get a bike, like a discounted bike. I was like, yeah, sweet. And I hopped on. That was like the new Norco they had 4 years ago, the yellow one. That was the first 27-inch I'd ever had, and I hopped on, and I was just like, whoa, this thing's sick. So then I started doing the Vic Series, and I started winning a few of them, which I was sort of surprised, and then went to national champs and got 5th against all those dudes. And I was like, holy crap. And then I was like, Benny was going up to a World Cup in Cairns, and I was like, oh, sweet. Yeah. No, it wasn't champs. No.
Oh, yeah, it was what?
And then I was like, oh, I'll come up and try race it. And then, I got 27th. Crap. So then, after that, I was like trying to get as much time off work, but my boss at the time hated that I was leaving. So like, I'd go to do a race like Mont Saint Anne. Flew out on the Monday, and then I flew back the Monday. And then with the time zones, I landed Tuesday, drove home, and then worked the next day. And I was like, the hardest thing I've ever done. And then, but I managed to do it four World Cups that year. And I think, I guess Benny lit a fire, I guess, maybe subconsciously.
Yeah, I can't think of ever trying to work full time and race World Cups and try and train and try and do everything. It sounds impossible.
Well, I've got this. I remember driving because I have a van, and I was driving from our place in Yak to work, which was about 30 minutes. And I'm driving there, jet lagged as all. And then I'm just sitting there going like, there is so much more to life than this. I want to race. I want to race so bad. Yeah. It wasn't equal. Me personally, I couldn't train. There's no way I could train the amount that we do now and work full time. Like, I just don't see it. Like, the most I could ever truly train is maybe 3 days a week. Yeah. Because you're working so hard at work, you got your nail bag on, you're stepping up and down ladders, it's 35 degrees, you run around work all day, and then the last thing you want to do is go for a ride. And if you do go for a ride, it's not at 100%. You might do it at 75, 80% just because you're so trashed.
And you don't want to wreck yourself because there goes your money. Like,
exactly. Yeah, your boss is like, well, why don't you stop racing and buy a house and do something smart with your money?
VL Commodore in the garage as a project car, all that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did Zwar Brothers Racing become a thing?
I guess it's kind of always been a thing because we've always been racing, but I think, 2017 was my first year of racing, and then the end of that, I had a factory team lined up after my first year, but and it was all verbal, so it was like, I want you on the team, like you blah blah blah. And then it might have been around this time or like right at the end of the year, he was like, oh, I won't say any names, but this young kid, his dad owns a lot of oil mines or something like that. Anyway, bought his son a ride on the team.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It kind of left me with absolutely nothing. There's no offers, even like all these. Back then, that's when Canyon first started doing their new bike in Australia.
Yeah.
And Darryl wanted to help out, but then that was too late to get all that sorted out. So I was kind of literally left with nothing. Like we ended up I financed a bike through our bike shop. And then I just had a really bad off season, and then went over to Europe and got smoked, and then I almost pretty much wanted a year off after that. I did have a year off in 2018, and Benny had been doing really well and actually got himself on a team in the IJ Racing, and then 2019 we're like, let's have a crack at this together and do the Zwar Brothers Racing, and then we kind of really knuckled down and tried to get a heap of sponsors together, and that was the first official, Zwar Brothers. So,
that seems to happen more often than people kind of think. Like, you get these factory offers and then all of a sudden they pull out. Like, it seems to happen so often.
I know so many people. Like, Jack's a good example of that. Moya.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very cutthroat. It's like any, I guess, top level sport or top level anything. It's like,
you can just go like that.
There's always going to be someone that could ride for you less. Like, if you got a kid there that he deserves $20,000 from a certain company, there's a kid that's going to do it for 10. Like, there's always going to be someone undercutting you, or very, very cutthroat like that. But it all led into the Zwar Brothers Racing in 2019, and it was sick. I was quite well known through the pits, and it was kind of a bit of a cool brand that we've built up now, and that's sick because there's not many brothers that do race, and obviously the masters, but that's cool. Definitely cool to be able to ride all the same stuff.
And it's definitely rare for two riders to have their own UCI like registered team.
Yeah,
it's a bit more than an Instagram handle. Like, it's
exactly. It was really cool how that all happened. Like, last year been huge sponsors of ours, or huge help of ours for the last 3 or 4 years, and it was just sweet. We wanted to do a UCI team, and then the New Zealand importer had Tehudo and Finn, and Tehudo had won a World Cup, and he got second or third at World Champ, so he's so fast. So it worked out really well just to have those two as well on our team, and we just called it Lusty High Performance. High Performance is their importer's name.
Yeah.
And we're really excited to have them two on. Like, Finn would have done pretty well in juniors, and Tehudo, I was just super keen to ride with him because he's fast. So that was really cool. It's like something like, it was only 3 or 4 years ago that I was sitting at home watching all the World Cup, not even thinking of it was a dream to just race one. So then to like go through the pits now, and you see like we have a team, and you got to pinch yourself sometimes. You're just like, how does this all happen? Like, it happened so fast. It wasn't like, so like Dino, ever since he was in under 17s, was like the fastest kid, and then he had offers, and he was privateer for 1 year, but then second year juniors is on the team, and he's just been on the team forever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unorthodox for like people coming out of Australia to do it privateer for more than 1 year, because they kind of have a crack at it, and then they're like, oh fuck, this is so hard, can't keep doing it. So it's kind of cool to see it pay off, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And like, last year was your breakout year. Like, it seemed you were everywhere. Like, and it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and like, we kind of pride ourselves on not really complaining too much on social media like some other people do. But like, we had a lot of bad luck that like kind of didn't really go out to the public. Like we're saying this, like, I broke my hand, probably had surgery on my hand 4 weeks before Maribor, and then we turned up the second World Cup, and then we had gastro, we missed track walk, we didn't eat for like 70 hours.
Shit.
And then like, so much shit happened. Like, then the car broke down, and
we finally bought a van in Europe, and we went down, picked it up. Well, this was like, a few days before Leogang World Cup. So we're in Munich picking up the van. We go to put the key, I think we've been driving it for like 2 hours or something. And we go to put the key in, and then the key like gets stuck in it. And then like something's happened with the key, and we're just stuck in Munich like 30 degrees. It's like, what the fuck? Just like, there's always something going on. So and we were so keen to have this, like, have the big van and have it at the race and just have everything set up. Then we just have to get it back in a little hire car and just drive down. But pretty funny.
Yeah. No, definitely made the best of every situation, I think.
Yeah. Like, how do you not, like, throw in the towel sometimes and just be like, this is shit, like everyone else?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I remember Andorra, I crashed first day of practice and hurt my wrist, and then later that night I'm like, shit, my wrist is sore. So we went and got an X-ray, and then it was like a spiral fracture in my wrist.
Yeah.
So then we're like, damn, like, there goes my season. And we were kind of on the verge of, like, making the national team or not. So we're like, all right, Benny, it's your time to shine. He qualified 60th, just got in, and then he ended up finishing 40th. And then we went to Leger the next week, and I'm like, I may as well just try ride. So I ended up getting a Mobius wrist brace from Thibaut, who owns the Common Sail team, and put that on, cranked it up, like, I tightened it so much you could hardly move my wrist, and then ended up getting 36th, and then won the privateer award from Win, and that's what paid for our tickets to go to Mont Saint Anne World Champs.
So you got, like, that's crazy to hear as well, because you got selected for World Champs.
Yeah.
And then Win Masters is paying for your flights to get there.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Yeah. A heap of people that did crowd fundraising.
Yeah.
That was cool.
How much pain was going through your wrist at that time, though? Like, let's be honest.
Yeah. It was pretty sore. You always hear of, like, people, especially in motocross, he's riding with injuries, and you kind of just go, no way. And then you're kind of just in the moment. I think that track kind of helped because it's quite short, but it was also like a lot of very small, chattery braking bumps the whole way down. It was just like constant, fast bumps into your hand. And I remember after it, I took the wrist brace off because I went into the hot seat, which was sick. And then I took the wrist brace off, and that's when, like, all the pain hit me from the weekend, I think. You kind of just suppress it for the whole weekend, then you're just like, oh. But, yeah.
Have you guys had any other, like, bigger injuries or anything? You seem to be, like, other than all the unlucky stuff, but no, okay.
We had a big one, like, a month after that.
Yeah, and then we had Valdesol at the end. Was it the last round? No, it was the second last round, and it was before World Champs. And, it was the first day of practice in time training, and we're just going down for a full run, and, like, halfway down, and then halfway down there's just, like, this pretty rough section in the open, and, like, a drop, had a root, and just my front wheel just washed out, and it literally had no time to put my hands out. It happened so quick, and just, like, straight to my stomach and my side. And then I just, like, got up, was just winded, and I was like, oh, it should be all right. I'm just, like, winded for now. And then just, like, couldn't get my breath back. It just, like, you know, when you get winded, and usually, like, after a while, you sort of come. It just didn't happen. And I was like, oh, shit, I just want to get to the bottom. Like, this is pretty bad. So I, like, tried riding. It took me, like, 10 minutes to ride, like, 50 meters, not even that. I was like, no, I can't ride. So I just laid down on the side of the track, and then some medics came and, ruptured my spleen.
Fuck.
Which is pretty shit. But
yeah.
So then we went to just, like, local hospital, because it was my shoulder that was really sore.
Yeah.
And I think it must be like, when you hurt your spleen, there's a nerve or something that goes to your shoulder where you get, like, pain. So, like, the whole time at this hospital, I'm like, no, like, my collarbone's, like, broken. It's in so much pain. They're like, no, like, we've done x-rays, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that it can be fine. But so we're getting, like, x-rays, and then all of a sudden, like, all the doctors come in, and then they grab me out of the room. They're like, oh, you got to go. We've got to airlift you. And I was like, oh, shit, what's wrong? And they're like, oh, you ruptured your spleen. I didn't even know what a spleen was. Was it my back or something? Like, I had no idea. So they're, like, rushing me out. I'm like, oh, crap, this is pretty serious. And then they're, like, wrapping me up, and, went into, airlifted me to a bigger hospital, like, an hour away, and they did, like, it was called a catheterization. It's where they went through my main artery in my leg, and then, like, with a little tube, and then they went all the way up and, like, sort of just blocked where it was bleeding.
They fused it shut by heat, so they go through the main artery up to the spleen, and then they like heat it up and they kind of burn it shut. It's pretty impressive. It was sort of one of the first. It's a very new surgery. Usually they just let it.
So that was
take it out.
I was super stoked on that they didn't have to take it out. They were able to do that. And so did that. And it was pretty weird. I had to, they didn't put me under for the surgery. I had to stay awake because they needed me to do, some breathing stuff.
Yeah, okay.
While I had the thing, the tube in me. And it was pretty funny. There was a few times I could, feel it.
Oh.
And then, so I had that. And it all went, it only took, 40 minutes or 50 minutes. So it was pretty quick. But had that and then I think I was in hospital for, 10 days or something. In Italy, where they didn't speak any English beds were super short, so I was super keen to get out of there as quick as I could, and we're just every day we were saying when can we get out, blah blah blah. But we ended up, I was sort of having a bit of an argument with all the doctors because they would say oh yeah, tomorrow you're gonna go, you're gonna be able to go. And then tomorrow comes around, they're like, oh, no, next Wednesday you can go. And I'm just what? I'm not getting any better in here with a bed where my legs it's up to my shins and there's just all these sick people in my ward. So we ended up having a bit of an argument and we finally got out, which was just so much better. Just resting in the hospital, it was just so bad in there. So that was sick. We ended up driving to, where was it? Lenzerheide in Switzerland, because that was the next World Cup for Ollie.
Yeah, okay.
So we just slowly, luckily Mum and Dad were there. They were going to leave that weekend to head back to Australia, but luckily they were there to watch us because that was perfect. I needed someone at the hospital because I wanted Ollie to go do the next World Cup, and then Mum and Dad stayed with me at the hospital, which was pretty lucky because, no one there spoke any English. None of the doctors did. So luckily, Mum, she's Swedish and she can sort of understand a little bit of a fair few languages. So really lucky having her there. And we slowly drove down to Switzerland. I just laid in the back.
It's an intense experience being in a hospital where you don't speak the language. It is next level.
And I've never been that. That was probably the worst pain I've been in for a while. And just for one, because and I broke or fractured my humerus in my arm, so I had to have a sling on. But it was one of the slings that it wraps around your stomach.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And then there's a strap around around your waist. And then I remember I had the surgery, and then after that I had this sling on, and they had the sling on so tight that it was around my waist where my spleen was. And I was there and I'm I couldn't even breathe. It was the most pain I've ever had. There was a guy in the hospital bed opposite me. He spoke English. He's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I can't even breathe." And then so every time I'm just always on the bell saying I'm in so much pain to the doctors, and he's just I swear he just hated me because I was English or something. He was just so French. It was just it was pretty funny. But so every time I'd have to take the sling off, and then they'd get angry when I come back. But I'd tell them I can't breathe with it on. Yeah. But it was it was a lot of stuff. So it was just getting out of there and just being it was just such a relief just to chill out and
been down that road. What was it like? What was it like racing with your brother in hospital and going through that? Is it hard to focus or?
No, yeah. The hard thing was, like you said, when he crashed, we done time training and I come down. We usually do it together, and I was at the bottom. Mum was there, Dad was there. We're like, "Oh, where's Benny?" And then you hope, maybe a flat tire. You hope it's a flat tire. And then shit. And I'm okay, well, I wanted to do another timed run anyway, so I went up on the chairlift, and I'm kind of looking at the side of the track, and I'm like, oh shit, there's Benny. shit, damn, he's on the side of the track. I could see some medics. And then, like everyone says, that track is the gnarliest track that you can race. And I'm like, okay, I got to focus. Okay, I got to focus. Don't worry about that. Try focus. In the Stargate, I'm like, okay, just want to get down to Benny. But getting to Benny is just a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
So I get down there, and I'm like, you're right, Benny. He's sitting there and he goes, oh, I don't know, I don't feel good. And he went through all those things he was saying, and then they put him on the back of a ATV or whatever it was. And then from riding from there, leaving him there was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
It was like, it sort of broke my heart because I'm trying to ride right away, but I'm like, fuck, that's my little brother. I was pretty much nearly in tears. And then the rest of the track, I pretty much had to nearly not walk down, but I just like stopped at every section just because I couldn't focus at all.
Yeah.
And then everything happened, and luckily I got a lift to the next race. Well, the worst thing was about the older solo is in qualifying, I snapped my handlebar. And
yeah, okay.
the split just before I crashed it, I was 8th.
Yeah, okay.
So it was so shit. Anyway, so then I had to find my own way to Lenzerheide, and luckily our trainer at the time was the team manager at Intense, and Gwyn wasn't racing, so it was pretty sick. I got to have Gwyn's bedroom, and you can imagine it was basically the size of our apartment here. Like, it was insane. So, yeah, it was the first time I'd raced without Benny for like 2 years, and it was sort of a weird experience. Because usually we're riding together all week, bouncing ideas, and yeah, it kind of just felt weird. I ended up riding with Jack Moy heaps. So it was still good, but it was definitely a weird old weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be super stressful for you. But
yeah.
At least on the bright side, you were in a mansion, so.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I guess when it gets to race time, I can focus really well. But it's just all the things in between. It's just like not having mum and dad there, or whether it's just weird not having Benny around.
Yeah,
it's notable because he's a big guy.
Yeah, the brotherly love is strong there.
Exactly. So it was an experience, sure.
And then, like, that's coming out of 2018, was it, or 2019?
That was the second last race of 19.
Yeah, okay.
And that was just after we both found out we were selected for Worlds.
Okay.
A month after. And because we had sort of, that was sort of the time we were thinking about doing this, maybe doing like this change like to Sweden for the next year. And we both, or especially me, like I really wanted to race world champs, being in elite.
Yeah,
it was my first year in elite, so when I crashed, I was just like straight away, I was like, oh, there goes world champs for this year. But then we sort of just like thought about it, and we're like, well, wait, we shouldn't call it off just yet. Like, it still could happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, we went back after it's not plugged in. We went back to after Switzerland. We drove back to Sweden and chilled. Like, I just chilled out, just rested as I could for, I think it was 3 weeks. And because there's a lot of doctors as well, like they don't really have a proper schedule on how long recovery should take for what I had done. So it was hard to gauge like what to do. So pretty much the doctors were like, well, we can't really tell you anything. Like, you can go, you can do this, but you're probably not. Like, you probably shouldn't race, because if you crash, you still it's still not fully healed and you can do damage. So I knew that and like weighed up the options, and I was like, well, I'm just going to try a race. Like, I know I'm not in a shape to do a really good result, but just sort of want to do it just because I've been selected and just try the best I can and obviously be smart. And so it was sick. Like, I was able to race, and I was pretty stoked on that.
The regrets of not racing were probably bigger than
exactly. Just like knew that obviously it's not going to be an amazing result or blah blah blah, but just still the
there for the experience.
The experience was really cool, and I was stoked on that.
Like, that experience of that world champs, I did a bit of research, seems to be like the catalyst for you guys moving to Sweden in some ways as well, right? Because you just didn't have what you expected.
Yeah, exactly. There was
It's sort of been like that a little because I'd done both years juniors as well.
Yeah, okay.
And I sort of like it's been like that. Like I sort of knew what it was like, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't my first time, but
it was. Yeah, like obviously every kid, like I can pretty much say for every kid now growing up, like you want to make, even in any sport, you want to represent your country. Like it's the highest sort of privilege in sport. And for years it's just been, I'd love to do it. And then we got selected, and we'd already been in contact with, we had a meeting with the Swedish Federation and met all the coaches and met everyone here. So we got selected, and we weren't expecting, like a lot of the federations don't pay for flights, especially to Canada because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
But like accommodation and all that stuff's sort of sorted out. And so we flew over, and we were like, so I was asking, emailing, like, oh, is there accommodation? They said, oh, no, I think we're full. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then we just like, by then as well, we booked our own accommodation, which was in Quebec City, which was with no traffic, probably 45 minutes away.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So that, yeah. And then I guess the juniors, most of the juniors had like a parent there or something like that. And there was a few coaches, mechanics, and the coaches were looking after the juniors. And then there was quite a few cross-country kids there too, in most of the categories. And then once the cross-country was done, we turned up for practice, and like the pit was empty sort of thing. Like there was
no water.
All the water wasn't full. Like, I don't know, it was just a kind of a weird, I thought it'd feel more like a bit of a team, or like everyone kind of gets around you. We almost like, because we almost felt like we kind of, I don't want to say like not welcome, but because you had the juniors there, and then you had the cross country, and I guess most of the other guys who get selected are all factory riders. So we kind of like felt like we were kind of having to tiptoe or like put our stuff in the back corner or stay out of the way. And I remember one of the coaches from Sweden jokingly said, because they were pretty frustrated, it's Jenny Risford's coach. He's like, oh, well, if you were Sweden, this would have all been covered for. Joke. Oh, shit. So just still like an amazing experience, and so happy that like it was a childhood dream. I never even thought in a million years I'd even have that opportunity, but I just thought there might have been a little bit more support. Like I guess at the end of the day, you are representing your country. And like it was fun. Like we kind of felt like we helped out a few of the juniors because we'd been over in Europe the whole year, and they were asking questions and stuff like that. But I guess in their defence as well, there's probably not many privateers that do make the team often in elite. It's usually all factory riders. Yeah. So it goes both ways, but
it'll be nice.
Feel sick.
Some water in there.
Water
in the tent, and someone asked to just wash your bike or something like that. Like just the little things.
Yeah, just all that little stuff can make a huge difference.
Well, yeah, it was kind of weird for me because no, like bad feelings towards any of the XC guys or judgments or anything, but we have a greater chance of winning in downhill than we do in cross country. Like pretty much, I can think of one cross country rider that might have a chance.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I totally like we had quite low numbers because we'd been doing so well in the year, and then all the cross country dudes are there, and we kind of had to clear out of the pits because they're all warming up, and all their numbers are like 90s and into the hundreds, and me and Benny just got like 40s. So you kind of just like, well, like we're not going to win or anything, but on a good day we could go maybe top 30, top 40.
Which is huge.
Especially in any sport, I guess. But yeah, it was just a super cool experience. I think I preferred the week after, like going down to Snowshoe, the World Cup a bit more, because it's sort of like maybe we just weren't expecting the pits and stuff because we knew what it was like, because it's on our own team sort of stuff. So
yeah,
that felt more normal, I guess.
That track looked gnarly though.
That was hard. Benny made the right decision because, like he was mentioning with his spleen, he's like, okay, well, I've done the thing I wanted to do, and that was just race Worlds, be a part of Worlds. And then he sat out snowshoe, which was probably a smart move because those rocks were like ice.
Yeah.
So I remember I went through there and I'm just like, holy crap, like I have no control. And it was like the most slipperiest clay on the shiniest rocks. It was insane. Like it was, but it ended up being a really cool place and a cool trip because we drove from Mont Saint Anne down to Snowshoe, and you're driving through, like all these really old country towns, and it was kind of really cool part of the world to see. And then the crowd there was insane too. Like
I was about to say, they were massive.
Like, and they were so educated. Like, I had people coming up to me saying like, "Ollie," and I'm just like, "How the hell do you know who I am?" like I'm a bit of a space nerd, and I remember we were at the after party, and this guy, he was an aerospace engineer for NASA, and he was talking to me how cool it was what I do. And I was like, dude, shut up. You work for NASA. So it was kind of cool to see like how into it they are there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty excited to go back there next year, which would be sick. So,
I was blown away watching that footage. Like, they rivaled the French for their...
Yeah, 100%. They're just wild dudes as well.
Yeah, the amount of moonshine side on the side was nuts.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a really cool way to end the year, and just the show that was on with the whole Amaury and Loic under Danny's run. Like, it was just a sick, one of the best races we've ever watched. Like, it was so cool. So that was a good way to end that year. Anyway,
and then it turned into 2020. So you moved to Sweden, and
we
get the federation, you get all the support, and then COVID hits.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we got back to Australia, and then we were kind of getting into training, and then it was this time last year we went to Malaga in Spain for a team camp with Sweden.
Yeah, okay.
So like, we paid for our flights, but everything else was covered. And that was a week and a half of training with. We were the only. There's another downhill kid from Sweden called Adam Eriksson, but the rest of them are all enduro riders.
Okay.
So we took our enduro bikes and just went riding for 2 weeks training, and then came back for Australia for a few months, and then in February we flew back over for another team camp in Italy, and that's when we moved everything over to Sweden.
Yeah, okay.
We're preparing for Lusa. We were in Italy, and then we were training for a few days, and then because Italy broke out first in Europe, and we're all kind of like very close to where we were, and we're all like, shit, we should probably get out of here. So we ended up changing our flights and quickly pinning it back to Sweden. So that was, and then we're kind of like everyone in the world, I guess. We're kind of just in limbo for a few months, but we're super lucky that we've had no lockdowns.
Yeah.
Like, we've just had social distancing recommendations, but like no lockdowns. And because we're athletes, so we can use the gyms, we can use all the facilities like that. So
sick. Yeah, cool.
It's been really
basically the same as Adelaide. Yeah. We had one lockdown. It went for 3 days. It was tough. Yeah. Long weekend.
Yeah, I can imagine. So,
but has it lived up to what you were expecting for the training and living over there?
Yeah, for me it has. Like, because it's called the Dollar Sports Academy.
Can you hear the wind, like the cars going past?
No, it's all good. No, it's fine. Yeah.
So there's a sports academy as well that kind of ties in with the federation, and they've got a pretty good list of riders. So you got Zach Johansson, he raced for Cube the last few years in enduro, like top 10 finishes. You got Jenny Risveds, who's won Olympics in cross country. Emil Johansson, the slopestyle rider, he's in the same group. And then you got us, and then a heap of other kind of local athletes, and they range from cross country skiing, everything. So we're all in this big group, and all train together. So like, we're training with cross country Olympians. We're training with Zach, who's probably fitter than a cross country Olympian. And we kind of just all work together, and on that side of things, it's been really, really good because it's like training with the AIS.
Yeah.
But actually being able to use the facilities.
Yeah.
And then the whole federation side of stuff, like on the last World Cup, we had so Adrian Hernquist, he's our coach and he's the not MTBA, Swede cycling sort of head guy. So he came down with us to Lusa this year and helped. And we were meant to have a mechanic, but he was sick. And he came down and just helped, and it was like having a team manager there. And
sick.
It was
drove everywhere, cooked us food, just like did all the stuff that
we usually do.
We usually have to do, and it just makes it so much less stressful. So that was so nice having somewhere there like that, someone there. So that was sick.
All those little things add up, hey.
Exactly. Massively.
And then your luck was almost just as bad as at some of the races as well, right? Like your bikes didn't rock up.
So Maribor,
I couldn't believe it.
So a week before, we were riding at one of our local places in Yoso, and I crashed and broke a bone in my hand. And then we flew down there. Bikes didn't turn up, and then bikes still didn't turn up, and then it didn't turn up the next day. So luckily, Cathro wasn't racing, so Benny, we both borrowed his bike because I was in A group practice, Benny was in B group, so I borrowed his bike for practice, and then it was, I think we had if I was going to race or do qualifying, I think we had 5 minutes to get Benny ready and on the chairlift and up, and then he'd have to go straight to the start and down. Yeah, and it was just going to be and my hand was still so sore, obviously, because of my broken bone. So then we sort of said, okay, Benny, you race the first round, and I'll let for another few days, and then hopefully by the second round, our bikes turn up, so then we can both race. And that was a stressful week.
And just the worst thing, you've had been doing your training all year, and you just want to you finally get to go do a race, and then none of your stuff turns up.
Yeah.
So it's so frustrating. Obviously it was pretty much almost the same bike as mine, but there was a lot of things that were different, and it just, no matter what bike, how close someone else's bike is to yours, it still doesn't feel like your bike. So it was just, so frustrating doing all the work and then getting there, and then it's just oh, you don't have a bike. And before we had Cathro's bike, Ed Masters, the pivot team had a bike, but it was a medium. And I hopped around in the car park, and I was like, there's no, I can't do this. Because we're pretty tall people.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just literally, I was like, I can't ride this bike. There's no way I'm going to be able to qualify on.
To put it in perspective, Benny rides an extra large with reach adjusting headsets forward.
Yeah.
So it's a long bike, and then you hop on a medium.
It literally felt like a beam.
So it's impossible. It's dangerous to ride.
Especially a pivot, because they're shorter anyway. It would have felt like a small V10. Yeah.
Exactly.
It was insane. So, it turned out obviously super, super well for how shit of a situation it was.
Because you top 30'd on that bike, right?
Yeah, so qualifying, I got 30th, which I was stoked. It was super crazy conditions as well. It rained, and just that place as well in the wet is just clay. But it was a pretty good run, just smooth, and I was stoked to just actually get a good time on someone else's bike, actually show what I can do. And then borrowed his bike I don't think our bike still didn't turn up, so I used his bike for the first race also. And again, just so much rain, it got even more slippery, and was on a good run, hit everything smooth, and near the bottom just had a washed out on a route and had a crash.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Bit annoying, but again, splits were around the 30 marks, which I was happy with in those conditions as well.
Yeah, on a borrowed bike with all that shit going on.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and then just after that crash leading into the next day, the next race, I lost a bit of confidence. Like I just noticed, because it was still wet, I just didn't have that like commitment everywhere.
Yeah.
So that I didn't go so well the next two, but it was still, I guess, a good weekend considering everything. But just a bit annoying when you know what you can do, but you just can't get it together. But
and that was a huge thing of Cathro to do, right? Like,
yeah, which was.
They were like, because they were staying in the same place as us, and Kate Edwards shared Benny's story.
Yeah, mine.
And then Max, who does the filming for that series, saw it and said, "Hey, we have an XL V10." And then me and Benny are like, "Hey, what?" And they were staying in the same place as us, so it was kind of all cool. Like they were kind of thinking, like, "Well, what are we going to do to film? Like, what are we going to do to film?" And then we knocked on the door, and like they filmed the whole us knocking on the door, like,
I saw that. Yeah.
Can we borrow your bike? So they were like so stoked. They almost wanted us both to race because we'll make it super dramatic and But like it was insane. And we kind of after both the races, we ended up pitting with them, and then we had one of the funnest nights with them. Like we just bought some beers and some pizzas, and just like just super awesome people like to just do that. And then actually after all that, we've all become really good friends. And every time Cathro kind of, I don't know if you've seen his latest episode, but he's still like giving us shout outs and like putting clips. It was like, it's really, really cool. Really cool.
That poor bike just got parted out so hard at the next race too.
Yeah. And he's like,
I went back and used his shock. But pretty funny.
How was the double headers as privateers?
For me, really hard because in January I had a bit of a knee injury and it kind of played with me until about 6 months. Okay. So I had the first 6 months of the year I couldn't really do much riding more than half an hour. So I was quite unfit for all those races. And especially Looser, I remember I did track walk and first day of practice I'm like, I am so trash because that was a long physical track too. Like so tired. But Benny
luckily
he's fit.
For me, I had a pretty good this year. I've had a good season of training, which is it's been so nice. So luckily we did a few EWSs as well this year. Just for good training and stuff, and just a lot of riding, which I feel like we've definitely lacked in the years of our training programs. Like we've done a lot of gym and like strength training and stuff, but just not riding anywhere near as much as like what we are now and what we probably should be doing. So it was cool to finally go do it down it because I did the EWS races, but never done one before, so I like didn't really have anything to gauge on. And that was super hard, but it was awesome going to both races, like, and just seeing like compared my body to where it was last year, like after like say qualifying or something, you do track walk and you just like your legs are completely stuffed and like a bit of race nerves. You wake up and you're just so sore. It's like my body felt pretty good, and as well the double headers as well, which we'd never done before, so it was cool to see it pay off.
They're challenging in their own way. Like it was good that we had Adrian at Looser.
Yeah, true.
So he made it a lot easier, so that we could actually come home and we had time to fit tyres and go over our bikes and chill out. Like we read a book, we could do some yoga, you could stretch. But I think in the past, like it would have been very hard for a full-blown privateer that was there by themselves. But no, they're hard. They're hard on the bikes, hard on mentally too, because you're up to speed on the first day, and then you're like 4 days of like race pace, World Cup race pace. And I kind of had because I knew I wasn't the fittest, I kind of come in with an attitude. It's like, okay, well, I want to build speed for the last day. It's like first day practice. Like I knew I was way at the back of time training, but I knew that was my plan.
Yeah.
And slowly built up, and then kind of paid off in the end. Saved energy qualifying and stuff like that. So it's tough. But I don't know. There's a lot of like people on pink bike and that saying like they should do it more often, but I don't know. Like it's cool, but at the same time, it's
the double headers.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. Like you do one, like imagine going to Valdesol and doing a double header. You got to do 4 runs now, like that.
No thanks.
You do a single race there, and people are getting helicoptered out like all day. Like it almost becomes dangerous, I think, if you're doing that.
I think if they pick and choose the spots, it might work.
Yeah, I think
like
so.
If they did a Wyndham or something, like where it's like a 3-minute track.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. You got to do a shorter, maybe Leger or something like that.
Yeah.
Low consequence track. Yeah.
Definitely not Valdesol or Andorra. That'd be brutal. And so that brought you up to the end of 2020. What are your plans for 21 coming up? Is there much on the cards, or is it still kind of going slow with everything happening at the moment?
The biggest thing that in the past, it was like, I'm going to find sponsors, this and this. But at the moment, we're sort of just like so focused on training. It's the only thing we're kind of really thinking about.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to do either going to do a UCI team again. We just sort of it's either going to be a UCI team or we're going to do a privateer Zwar Brothers racing again. Because it's so much fun just driving around the van, like around the world. It's sick.
It works for us as well.
We just hop in a van and like drive down the races, make a road trip out of it. Hopefully, Mum and Dad can come over for a few races next year. But hopefully, like we've built pretty good relationships with most of our existing sponsors, and they're pretty happy with us. So hopefully, we can just continue doing what we're doing. Because if you do it right, you can do it well. Like it's not, especially living in Europe. Like you're not spending $1,000 on. Like we literally drive to the race. It takes 2 days driving, but we've got a Sprinter van. When we were just sort of bored in the summer, so we're like, let's go to Morzine. So we loaded up the van. We took our road bikes, dirt jump bikes, enduro, downhill, spares for months. We just drove down, went riding. It was like sick. So you can do that, and you can go to a World Cup or a race, and you go, I don't have to go scab a tyre from the syndicate. You're like, okay, I've got all the tyres I need here. I've got all the spare parts I need. Just for 2021, just focusing on getting as fit and strong as we can, and hopefully
there's a season.
Well, I think it's looking like Australia's going to get hit hard in winter. That's what's happened in Europe. Like it going into season. All the countries here are getting hit, but it seems like it's plateauing a bit. In the middle of summer was sweet. Like most of Europe was open, so I think.
And they showed that they could do it this year.
Can show they can do it in the worst times. Like when we were in Portugal, UCI sent us, like the whole country went into lockdown while we were there. And we had to have a special certificate sent from UCI giving us permission to drive from town to town.
Yeah, okay. That's gnarly.
We had to show them, like, we're actually allowed to travel.
Yeah.
I think, they've shown that they can do it in the worst of times. So, I think I'm pretty optimistic for next year. So,
yeah, I'd be sick if they can get some races happening and get it going properly.
Proper season, I think that's what everyone wants. I think that's one thing that I've definitely noticed and people have realised is, they've got all the social media people and all the influencers, but at the end of the day, most of the people have missed the racing. Like, there's so many people so stoked to watch the World Cups again. And I remember reading all the comments in the summer break when no one was racing. They're just like, we just want to race. We just want to watch racing. Like, I think it was really cool to see that.
Yeah.
I think it's genuinely missed seeing Bruni and Gwyn and all those dudes killing it.
And going fast, not just railing ruts and jibbing everywhere.
Some drum days.
I might start wrapping things up a little bit here. Got a few questions I'd like to ask at the end. What advice would you give to young Aussies or people that are looking to from Australia trying to get on the World Cup scene and succeed over there, like you guys are?
So my biggest one that I kind of live by is just because you're not on the net. I remember getting told by the guy that was running a team when I was real young. It's like, if you don't make the junior team, you'll never make it in racing. And I remember hearing that when I was 15, going, shit. So it was kind of a lot of pressure. So it's like everyone, you kind of hit peaks at different times. So it's like, just keep doing it for the right reasons, and you'll get there if you put all the work in. You can literally do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah.
Which is, I still pinch myself. Like, it wasn't long ago I was at work swinging off a hammer, just dreaming of this.
Yeah. Now, 2 years ago, right? Like 3 years ago. That's insane. Yeah.
So basically, yeah, you can do it if you want to. Of course.
Yeah. And
How
also,
about you, Benny?
Yeah, if you are junior, and you're planning to come over to do your first year of racing in juniors, it is a good thing to do. Is like some European races, like the IXSs. I did that as well, and it's just because it is so different from racing back home. It's not like just turning up to a Vic or a national round. It's completely different. So it's really good to go and do some IXS races like you can do. I did one at like Leo Gang, which was a World Cup. Like I was going to race there the next year. So you can do stuff like that, and there is a lot of fast European kids. So it's just a good thing to sort of, the closest you're going to get, closest you'll get to feeling what the World Cup's going to be like. And
it can kind of like acclimatise you, because for us, we were lucky that we've got a Swedish mum, so we spent a lot of time over here. So being in a foreign country with different languages is normal. But for someone that's never really been outside of, they turn up to France and no one speaks really English if you go to a small town there. So if you go do some smaller races, whether you start off going to New Zealand and then you make your way to some of the IXS Cups, and you kind of familiarise yourself a little bit more with the culture, or just being out of your comfort zone, instead of turning up to a World Cup, first ever international race, you're at a World Cup, it's top 20 that qualify, you're already nervous on that. Kind of just, the walls start closing in on you.
Yeah.
There's so many different things. So if you can kind of just take smaller steps and just sort of let it come to, I think, and just don't rush it.
Yeah, and don't worry about what other people are doing, and because there are times to get caught up in that, look at this guy, he's got this, that. Yeah, just do it for the right reasons and just focus on yourself, and who cares what gear or bike.
That's probably one thing too. Just because someone on Instagram is making out they're sponsored by this certain company, they're not. They probably get a 5% off discount. Like, I was blown away how many people you look at their Instagram like, oh no way, he's making money from this, and you're like, nope.
Like, I feel like now, especially like it's even bigger now, I guess, for like if you're a junior on Instagram and how many followers and this and that and like what you've got. But yeah, just who cares about that stuff? Like, if someone wants to help you out, then they're going to do it because of how you are as a person and what you're writing, is not because of how many likes you get on a video. Yeah. So just be yourself and just be a good person, and things will fall into place.
Exactly. Do you guys speak Swedish? Like,
I grew up learning it, and then Benny didn't, but he's sort of got to the point where he can understand.
I've had to
quite a bit of it.
Yeah, try to learn it this year, which has been pretty hard. Not gonna lie, but I've learned a lot since I've got here. Like Ollie said, I can understand a lot, but it's still pretty hard. Can't really talk that well.
Because even if you are fluent in like that country's language, if it's your second language, it is so mentally taxing to speak that language. It is next level. You got to think more than double. If I'm like, because I've been doing a bit of work here, just we haven't been racing, so like mainly speak Swedish there, and you've got to think twice as hard. You've got to think before you say anything, and then even like if you try to speak Swedish and put the words the same way as you speak English, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's a whole nother way of speaking. It's like any other language. So it takes time. But. Yeah. Yeah, because it's based off German, right? I think it's very similar.
Oh, there's similarities. Not Swedish is similar.
Yeah, okay.
But there are, like, when I'm listening to German, there'll be similar words, but
It's a little bit different.
it's not as aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is literally sometimes like, because I can speak basic German and I'm fluent in Japanese, but like,
wow, yeah.
If like looking at German, it's basically like they threw a sentence structure into a blender and then just went, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Like, it's just, I think now that you say that, I'm pretty sure it's structured similarly, I think.
Yeah, okay.
The way sentences are structured, but a lot of the words are different. But
yeah, it's just a whole other mindset. Anyway, what would you have done differently up until now?
I've said this a lot this year. I would have moved here when I was 16. So, this is sick. So in Sweden, at the end of high school, which I think is year 10, you go to like a högskolan, which is like an even higher school, and you can do kind of like if you're into horse riding, you can go to a horse school. If you're into motocross, you go to a motocross school. So here they have like the cykelgymnasium, which is like the cycling gym. And so every Swedish rider, like they've got one here in Finland, and there's like 30 or 40 kids. So what you do is, you do your school, but you're riding with Martin Söderström. He's your riding coach.
Yeah.
So it's just like your whole way through your end of your high school, you're riding, you're training, you're basically living your professional rider.
Yeah.
And then, like, it is, I couldn't believe it. Like, I wish I knew about this when I was that age, because I would have moved over for sure.
Yeah.
But that's probably one thing I would have done. I moved here, because then I would have.
Like, everyone here, all our bike school are just so good, because they've been riding hardtails and bikes since they were like, in school.
That's sick. Imagine going to school and having like bike riding as a subject.
Wednesday morning, we're going to go ride dirt jumps. Like,
sick. They kind of do that. They do that with like all their sports and then all their trades and like everything, right?
Yeah, everything's the same. It's got such. I don't know. I love the whole system here. Like, I could go on for hours about it. Like, I just love it. It's just such a good system, because it's like, if you come from a family with zero money or a family with $1 billion, you have the same opportunities.
Yeah.
You can study, you get for free. You also get money from the government to study. So you just it's just equal opportunity. Like, it's super.
I wish I could adopt a few boys from Oz that I could bring to school here, so they could do all the stuff here. Like some of the blokes. Because they would just froth. Like, that's pretty cool.
That's probably the one thing, but yeah.
How about you, Benny? Anything you changed so far? Or?
Yeah, it would have been pretty cool to do that as well, like to move here.
Yeah.
But I guess almost like, just taking it a bit more serious when I was a bit younger, I guess. Like, you look at, like, now I'm like, imagine if I was doing all this training when I was like, back in first year junior and stuff. But yeah, I guess it'd be pretty sick to move here younger and grow up doing the whole school thing here and riding, and be pretty
sick. And this is the last question. It seems to be the hardest for most people, but if you guys are like struggling for motivation or you need to get G'd up for something, say you go to a race run or something like that, what music do you guys listen to? Do you listen to anything to get G'd up, or?
Benny's a massive music dude. What do you listen to?
I don't know, sometimes, like, say if I got, like last year, if Ollie didn't do some racing, if he was injured or something, I'd have him cant to the top so I could listen with, use my headphones. But a lot of the races, I don't have the phone up there because we just don't have anyone else. It would just be me and Ollie up there.
Yeah.
Like a couple races, I don't know. I like Skeggs a lot, so listen to that, and some just other like sort of garage rock bands similar to that, whatever, like some chills.
Sick. Bit of that Aussie rock, like garagey.
It gets me pretty stoked to go riding. So
sick.
So that stuff.
And Ollie, do you listen to anything or?
No, not really to get pumped up. I kind of...
Or I just annoy Ollie.
No. No, I kind of like, before my race and that, I just kind of get in my zone without it. I don't know if it's because like we haven't had the opportunity to have our phones and stuff up there, so you kind of just learnt to get in the zone without it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You're already that fucking G'd up the top. Like you're already pretty in the zone. Like righto, I'm here. So and there's always like there'll be someone with a car playing music.
Yeah.
There's always drum and bass or something playing at the top. So
full Euro. Yeah.
And jacked up.
Yeah.
Up the top. Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, again, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for lending me your morning to have a chat.
No, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. It's been giving us the time.
It's been pretty fun.
Yeah. Where can people find you if they want to check out what you're doing?
So yeah, lucky with our last name, there's not many people with it. So we got our Instagram names is just Oliver Zwar and then
Ben Zwar.
Yeah.
And then have a squiz on Instagram.
See what we're doing. We're doing a bit of skiing over the next few months and a bit of snowmobiling and stuff like that. So
yeah,
sweet. A bit different to the Aussie summer.
Yeah, dodging snakes and trying to get dehydrated.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty stoked that there's no snakes over here. Yeah. Wasn't the biggest fan of them back home.
Oh man, don't worry, I'd rather take a snake over an avalanche any day of the week. But all right, guys. Well, yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Look forward to seeing what you do next season. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Easy, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye. See you, man.
Beyond the Tape podcast.